Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to my live stream. First time, so I'm going to use a sticky note. Hope that's okay. Now, I've got a couple of things to talk about to get off my chest because it's been an interesting week. And primarily I wanted to talk about something that I just saw on the news that made me feel really kind of sick and gross. And don't worry, it doesn't involve food. But it does involve the Dalai Lama, and unfortunately, he just did something really creepy. So, the Dalai Lama, back in the 90s, when I was a kid, he used to be this very popular figure that people would promote and support to have a go at China, but also to show how Buddhist they were and how spiritual and how they believed in freedom and the opportunity for the Tibetan people. All of these admirable things, admirable qualities. And the Dalai Lama became this kind of jovial, funny, bad English, but kind of cute old dude. And now he just did something that wasn't cute. It was just gross, to be honest. So he basically was in some sort of setup with his monks, his little posse, and there was a little kid, little boy, who was called to talk to him, and he got the kid to come up to him and said something, and then said, "Okay, now, like the Don," and the kid had to pay respect to him, like, you pay respect to the Don and you kiss their hand or you kiss the cheek. And the Dalai Lama got this little boy to kiss him right here. And then, of course, the Dalai Lama, he kind of grabbed the arm of the kid and he pulled him closer and then was like, "Now kiss me here." And his face got all weird, like he was getting aroused or something. And it just got all very odd all of a sudden. And the kid, of course, what's the kid going to do? He's a little child, and this is his spiritual leader. Of course he's going to kiss him on the bloody mouth. So the child complies, because that's what you do when you're little and vulnerable and you don't know any better. And then it gets even worse, because the Dalai Lama, he's still, if you notice his arm, he's still holding the boy. So he's got a grip on the kid, so the kid can't get away. And then everyone's chuckling and laughing because it's so funny. I mean, is this how monks get off on a Friday night? Like, is this, they just sit around, like, not drinking whiskey and, like, kissing boys? Like, ew. And then the Dalai Lama pulls him close and says, "Now, suck my tongue." What the actual F? And the kid, of course, because everyone's chuckling and all the adults in the room have lost their fucking brains, sorry for swearing. And of course the kid complies, moves to the Dalai Lama and sucks his holy tongue. Because apparently that is what spiritual leaders do. They need parts of their body sucked by children. We're only 3 minutes in. Isn't this jolly? And the excuse that he gave later, or his posse, his aides, his minders gave on social media was, "Oh, well, he just jokes about. He's always making fun, he's a joker." A joker who likes kids. I mean, can you imagine if the Dalai Lama, His Holiness, if His Holiness had done that to a grown man or to a grown woman? What if he did that to Hillary Clinton? Can you imagine? And if you ever got upset about it or said something, his response would be, "I was just joking. We're just having fun," which seems to be the modus operandi when people are called out for being gross, inappropriate, sexual harassment, stepping over boundaries. "Oh God, it was just a joke. Whoa, I was just having fun. Like, come on, guys. They like it anyway. Look, they're laughing and going along with it. I mean, I'm just such a fucking funny guy. You would be too if you had the Chinese on your case. I can't actually believe that I'm saying that. No, I won't say that about China. The Chinese government. Hey, how you doing? But it is like watching. It was just a horrible scene. Go and watch it or don't watch it. So, don't. But it was just like a scene of watching a group of old men in frocks. That seems to be very popular at the moment. A group of men in frocks sitting around, laughing and having a good old time, and the simpletons, the peasants, the children come and perform for them, perform tricks and indulge their majesties and their holinesses. I mean, for fuck's sake. Talk about not idolizing humans, because humans can turn out to be pretty shit sometimes. Even if they've got a nice title in front of their name and they wear nice spiritual regalia, and they've got their special clothes on and their little titles, because they're so holy. Guaranteed you know what might be going on behind closed doors with this stuff. Like, just, I don't know, tell me what you think, if anyone's listening, if anyone's out there. Okay, I've got my post-it note. Let's go down the list. Men in frocks, right. That seems to be very topical at the moment. And I'm not at all suggesting that men who like to wear dresses do so for nefarious reasons necessarily, or that there's an instant correlation between a guy wearing a dress and turning out to be an utter pervert. But I am noticing that, particularly with the abuse of children, it does seem to happen in institutions where there's a lot of frock going on. And it seems to be part of society at the moment, but that's happening a lot. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, so I just had to share that because I just thought, wow. You know, before I came on to do this live stream, I was thinking, what am I going to talk about? I know that I wanted to talk about children, about kids, about their safety, about the way they're treated generally in society and across the world, but I'll stick to the West for now. You know, that's given me more than enough material. And of course, women and children are connected. You can't really talk about one without the other. Their status is frequently connected. But nobody's really addressing this area a lot or consistently. And I totally get why, because it's very uncomfortable and unpleasant. Anyway, so it's been a bit of a shit week. Anyway, moving right along. Something else that happened to children this week that I'm still trying to get my head around and still trying to process. As an Australian, I'm not American, but of course we get American news all the time. Like, that's our culture. We mock and mimic and imitate culture from the United States. It sort of comes over here. British culture comes over a little bit. It's just what we do. So absolutely terrible and upsetting and horrifying what happened to those 3 children that were killed and the 3 adults that were killed, and 1 adult was injured at a school in the United States, Nashville, I think it was, just recently. I'm not going to get too hung up about the location because unfortunately, as I speak, there's been another mass shooting. So it seems to be something that's just part of the American milieu. And what was so utterly appalling, besides the fact that someone would go and kill children, is that the vice president and the president and the spokeswoman, Jean-Pierre or Corinne Pierre, not a single one of them, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, not a single one of them has said, oh, by the way, we're really, really sorry for their loss. We're really sorry for the loss of these children, for this terrible fucking tragedy. And we're thinking of the families, and we don't want this to happen again. But I haven't heard them say that yet. What I have heard is the spokeswoman saying that she had a certain group's back, that group were feisty and they fought back and they were And she said it right after these children had just been targeted, and these kids were Christian children. So they were of the Christian faith. Guaranteed, if that was a synagogue and they were Jewish kids, it would be a hate crime. Guaranteed, if they were Muslim kids in a mosque or in a religious school, it would be branded as Islamophobic hate crime. And quite rightly so. But for some reason in our culture, and there's many reasons and I'm going to skirt around them at some point, for some reason in our culture it's perfectly fine to knock off Christians because there's this underlying belief and conception, and there's reasons for it that are quite valid, but there's an impression of, well, the Christians are so powerful and they've had it good for so long and they've never been particularly nice to anybody else. So you know what, if it's karma and it happens to them, like, so what? That's the mentality going through certain people's minds, I'm sure, in regards to this issue. It doesn't count if they're Christian because, on the ring of power, or rings or ladders, at the very top somewhere are white Christians, evangelicals. And so it doesn't really matter if one of them is knocked off or a couple are killed because, A, they're up here, they've got power and privilege. So, whatever. I mean, it's sick. It's really sick. I don't think that any group should be targeted or killed, and I certainly don't think children should be brought into it just because you've got fucking issues. That in itself is one issue, but the fact that the President of the United States and the Vice President, she actually just went to the same state, I believe, where the shooting just took place, and she didn't mention it jack shit. Didn't bring any flowers, didn't go talk to the family. Those poor parents who've lost their children, nothing, nada, zip-diddy-doo-dah. Mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. I think any institution that is this callous when it comes to children, or this callous when it comes to any part of your population, you're supposed to be the United States. I'm just going on a rant about America. Please excuse me if you're American. But, I have to deal with your culture every day, so deal with it. But yeah, the whole point with the United States project was that it was United States, which means you've got a whole shitload of people, hundreds of millions of people who are very, very different, but they come together around certain values. And as the freaking president or vice president or spokesperson, you're supposed to speak for all of the people as a collective whole, not in the creepy communist sense of collectivism, but in the collected people across the country. And you're supposed to speak for all of them, particularly when children are involved. Fuck's sake. So it's just been a marvellous, marvellous week for young people, for vulnerable people, and for people who are not in the popularity club at the moment. But that'll change. I don't know. Who knows who will be the next president of the United States? God help us. But for God's sake, what, do Christians not deserve some sort of acknowledgement? But really? Really? It's ridiculous. Anyway, light-hearted topics we're talking about here today. What else did I want to talk about? I feel like my house is being really loud on purpose, like my neighbour's just suddenly deciding to spray clean the whole of the veranda and drag rubbish around, and my fridge is deciding to play up, and someone's out there getting a date. I don't know what's going on in this neighbourhood. I wrote down the word no boundaries. That's also something that's happening in the news a lot, I think, is particularly in this in the case of women, women's boundaries and spaces being ignored and roughshod over, and women being told, if you have a problem with us coming into your space, if you say no to us, we will punish you. That's literally the mantra and the psychology of rapists, of people who abuse women. You saying no? No, you're not allowed to say no. You have to say yes and suck it up and deal with it. Or as in the case of the Dalai Lama, suck it. Suck on it. Ew. But this total disregard for boundaries is just astonishing. And it's everywhere at the moment, and it's happening online, and it's happening to women in spaces, real life spaces. And I think that is a hallmark feature of abusive culture or of abusive society or interactions, when somebody else's boundaries, you don't respect them, you don't acknowledge them. And when they stand up for themselves and say, hey, can you not do that? Because it makes me feel unsafe or uncomfortable in my own space. When the would-be victim says that, the aggressor, like the Dalai Lama, and I consider him an aggressor towards that kid, the Dalai Lama says, oh, I was just joking, I'm just so fucking funny, I'm a joker. Do you stick your tongue down Hillary Clinton's mouth, Dalai Lama? Do you stick it down those grown men who are hanging around guffawing? Do you stick it down their throat? I mean, get your kicks any way you like, but just leave the children out of it, please. As The Simpsons said, will someone please think of the children? So there's lack of boundaries there. Obviously, there's lack of boundaries with that school that was shot up. There's a lack of boundaries for women at the moment. So women can't use their own spaces and say no to certain groups, or men in frocks. There you go, there's another analogy there, or something, I don't know, something to do with clothing. It's hard live streaming, but hopefully not too painful. Anyway, that's all I had really. What else did I write about? Nike, the goddess Nike, something about that. I might leave that for another live stream, the joys of Nike sportswear. I love being told how I'm meant to feel as a female. I've got big tits, they're bloody annoying, and they're heavy, and they actually get in the way of me playing sports. So I love the fact that I have a certain human being who is very skinny, has no tits, has no idea what they're like to have to deal with, particularly when you want to play sports. I love being told or mimicked how I'm supposed to dance and feel and all of that. Sorry. Well done, Nike. Well done. Something about religion. KJK, Riley Gaines. Yeah, it's all happening. It's all kicking off. It's all very exciting. So that's all I had to share, really. I'm trying to drag this out to 20 minutes. Hopefully it'll not be too painful. I've never done this before. I might delete this in the future. Who knows? Maybe I just need to get more drunk. In fact, I did have a little bottle of brandy, but I think I finished it already. God, it's only Tuesday. What else? That's all. I just wanted to reiterate my disgust as a grown woman that this spiritual leader who should know better, who actually does know better, let the world see what he's really like underneath and behind the smoke screen, or he just doesn't even bother abusing a child for the whole world to see. It's incredible. And it is abuse, and we shouldn't sugarcoat it or, oh, he's senile, he doesn't know what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. He's the fucking enlightened one, remember? Anyway, not having a go at Buddhists, not having a go at Tibetans. I am having a go at the Dalai Lama, so we'll see how long this video stays up for. But yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining in if you've come this far. And hopefully I'll see you next time. So, 20 seconds, 19. Oh, by the way, that's one of Matisse's paintings, upside down, because I thought it was quite a nice way of a nice metaphor for our world at the moment, particularly for females. Like, everything's just gone to shit. Anyway, thanks so much. Good night. Take care.